So Libby and I have been married now for 13 years, almost 14 years, and we've always, even going back to when we were dating, talked about our family looking a little bit non-traditional, and adoption was a part of that. Probably starting about 7 years ago, we started going through the process of looking into adoption, looking into foster care, and kind of seeing what that would look like for our family. So Jenna Everson, we've known her for probably 8 years or so. We actually met her through church, the church we were going to. We were foster parents, licensed through a foster agency, and Jenna was a social worker at that agency. So she was, so great, just helping us walk through that process of getting licensed and all the things that go into that. It was just so helpful, answered so many of our questions, and just really, I think, we could just tell right away how much she cared about the kids, how much her heart was in the whole foster care system.
When I first met Libby and Zach, I assumed that what would set them apart was Libby's professional experience as a behavioral therapist, knowing that, gosh, that could be a huge asset in inviting a child into her home with trauma. But really, that's just been the icing on the cake, I would say. I think what has made them really the perfect fit for these little boys are that they decided that they were going to be the fit.
I remember the day that we got the text from Jenna at Choosing Hope about Amir. I remember seeing the pictures that she sent, and just some of the backstory on Amir. And I remember that day I was at work. I remember exactly where I was sitting, and I remember texting Libby and saying, this is something we need to look into.
When we read a little bit more about Amir, we knew that he had multiple disabilities, and that is something we had talked about before in terms of adoption, but it was something that we paused to consider whether we felt like we would be able to fulfill the needs that he had. And there are just so many unknowns when saying yes to a child in general, but saying yes to a child with disabilities. But I feel like you don't have to have it all figured out, and we don't have it all figured out, but being fortunate enough to bring Amir into our home has been absolutely seamless. He is such a joy, and he's such a gift, and he, I feel like, has grown our family in ways that we could not have experienced otherwise. One of the coolest parts of adopting Amir for our family has been watching our sons together, watching Andrew and Amir's relationship as they've gotten to know each other. Andrew has just beautifully stepped into a role of big brother, and he's, showing off all of these incredible parts of his personality and his strengths, and Amir is just pure joy. So I think one of the most beautiful parts of adoption to me is seeing how your family changes and grows as you meet each other and get to know each other and are vulnerable enough to call each other family.